Amara sat in the forbidden chair for just 15 seconds, exhausted, desperate for rest. The click was barely audible. Then the red light started blinking. She'd accidentally triggered a recording device containing secrets that had already killed 3 people. The billionaire didn't fire her. He imprisoned her, not out of cruelty but terror. Because now someone dangerous knows the system activated. They're coming for answers Amara doesn't have. And the truth behind that chair is far deadlier than she ever imagined. Hey family, welcome to Real Life Heart Stories. Please subscribe and give this video a like. It truly means the world to us. Don't forget to share it with your friends and loved ones, and turn on post notifications so you never miss a new upload. Thank you so much for the support. Now, sit back, relax, and let's dive into today's story. The heavy iron gate slammed shut behind Amara with a sound that echoed through her chest like a gunshot. She spun around, heart hammering, watching as 2 security guards positioned themselves at the exit. Their faces were blank, emotionless. One of them stepped forward and extended his hand. "Your phone, please." "What?" "No, I need to." "Your phone." His voice was flat, final. Amara's hands trembled as she pulled the phone from her pocket. The moment it left her fingers, she felt naked, exposed. The guard turned it off without looking at the screen and slipped it into his jacket. Behind him, the gate's electronic lock beeped 3 times. Red lights. Sealed. Footsteps clicked against marble. Amara turned to see him descending the curved staircase. Chidi Okafor, the billionaire. His gray suit was pressed to perfection, his expression carved from ice. He stopped 3 steps from the bottom, looking down at her like a judge delivering a sentence. "You touched what you were warned never to touch." "Mr. Okafor, please, I can explain." "I didn't know." "You were told." His voice cut through her words like a blade. "Every single person who works in this house is told. The rules are simple. They exist for a reason." I was exhausted. I only sat for a second, I swear. "Enough." He descended the final steps. "You don't leave this house anymore." The words hung in the air like poison. Amara felt her legs go weak. "You can't be serious. You can't just keep me here. That's illegal." Chidi pulled out his own phone and made a call. "Tund?" "Yes, I need you at the house. Now." He ended the call and looked at Amara with something that might have been pity, or contempt. She couldn't tell. "My lawyer will explain everything to you. What I'm doing is perfectly legal. You signed a contract. You violated its terms. There are consequences." Amara's vision blurred with tears. "This is insane. It was just a chair." "It was never just a chair." The room tilted. Amara grabbed the wall for support. This couldn't be happening. She'd only been working here for 3 weeks. 3 weeks of cleaning a mansion so enormous she still got lost in its wings. 3 weeks of following absurd rules. But this rule, the one about the chair, had seemed the most ridiculous of all. Until now. If you enjoyed this opening, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell because the story gets even darker. And drop a comment below. Would you have sat in that chair? 20 minutes earlier, Amara had been on her hands and knees scrubbing the floor of the West Library. Her back ached. Her shoulders burned. She'd been working for 6 hours straight. The mansion had 47 rooms, and Mr. Okafor expected each one to be spotless. She sat back on her heels and wiped sweat from her forehead. That's when she saw it. The chair. It sat in the corner of the library, positioned near the window where afternoon light spilled across its burgundy velvet cushions. It looked antique, expensive. Amara remembered the orientation. The head housekeeper, Mrs. Adeyemi, had been very specific. "Do not sit in the chair in the West Library. Do not touch it unless you are cleaning it. Mr. Okafor is very particular about that chair." "Why?" Amara had asked. Mrs. Adeyemi's expression had tightened. "He has his reasons. Just follow the rules." But God, Amara was tired. Her feet throbbed. Her knees felt like broken glass. The chair was right there. Empty. Beautiful. Just for a moment. What harm could it do? She walked over to it. The velvet was soft under her fingers. She glanced at the doorway. No one. She lowered herself onto the cushion and closed her eyes. Bliss. Her body melted into the chair. She would just sit for 30 seconds. No one would ever know. She got to 15 before she heard the voice. "What are you doing?" Amara's eyes flew open. Chidi Okafor stood in the doorway. His face was white. Not angry. Terrified. I'm sorry, I was just... Get up. Get up right now." She scrambled to her feet. "I'm sorry, Mr. Okafor. I was tired and But he wasn't listening. He was staring at the chair like it might explode. His hands were shaking. "Adeyemi, get security. Now." And that's how Amara ended up here. Trapped. Her phone confiscated. Her freedom stripped away in seconds. Now, standing in the mansion's grand foyer with guards at her back and a billionaire in front of her. Amara felt fear give way to anger. "You can't do this. I'll call the police." "With what phone?" Chidi's expression didn't change. "And tell them what? That you violated a clearly stated employment contract? Tund will be here in 10 minutes. He'll explain your situation. Until then, you'll wait in the staff quarters." One of the guards touched her elbow. Amara jerked away. "Don't touch me." "Then walk." Chidi gestured toward a hallway. "You have a choice. Walk to the staff quarters or be escorted. Either way, you're not leaving." Amara's hands clenched into fists. She wanted to scream, but the guards were blocking the only exit, and something in Chidi's eyes told her he wasn't bluffing. She walked. The staff quarters were nice, at least. A small bedroom with an attached bathroom. A prison with thread count. Amara sat on the bed and tried to steady her breathing. When she tried the door, she found it locked from the outside. When she checked the window, she discovered bars hidden behind decorative shutters. Chidi Okafor had prepared for this. How many times had he done this before? An hour later, the lawyer arrived. Tund Bello was a thin man with wireframe glasses and a briefcase that probably cost more than Amara's rent. He sat across from her at the small table and opened a folder. "Mrs. I understand you're upset." "Upset? He's holding me prisoner." "Not legally." Tund slid a document across the table. "This is your employment contract. Page 7, Section 3. It clearly states that violation of household rules constitutes breach of contract and subjects you to immediate remediation measures." Remediation measures? That's insane. "It's legal. You signed it." Amara stared at the paper. The words blurred together. She had signed it. She'd been so desperate for the job. For the money. "How long does he plan to keep me here?" Tund closed the folder. "That depends on you. On whether you cooperate. On whether you understand the severity of what you've done." He stood. "Mr. Okafor isn't a cruel man, Mrs. He's a careful one. Think about that." Then he left, and Amara was alone again. This wasn't about punishment. This was about something else entirely. Something Chidi Okafor was desperately trying to hide. If you're already hooked, smash that like button and let me know in the comments what you think is really going on. Amara spent the first night wide awake. Was Chidi Okafor simply a control freak? Or was there something darker happening? She thought about the other staff members. Mrs. Adeyemi had worked here for 12 years. The gardener, Emeka, had been here for 8. They all followed the rules without question. They all avoided that chair. Why? Morning came with a knock on the door. It opened to reveal Mrs. Adeyemi carrying a breakfast tray. The older woman's face was carefully neutral. She set the tray on the table without making eye contact. "Eat. You'll need your strength." "Mrs. Adeyemi, please. Help me. This is crazy." The housekeeper's jaw tightened. She glanced at the hallway, then lowered her voice. "You think you're the first? You think you're special?" Amara's stomach dropped. "What? 3 people before you. All of them sat in that chair. All of them ended up here." Mrs. Adeyemi moved toward the door. "The smart ones learn to keep quiet. What happened to them?" But Mrs. Adeyemi was already gone. The door locking behind her with a soft click. Amara stared at the breakfast tray. 3 people before her. Where were they now? She picked at the food, her appetite gone. The room suddenly felt smaller. She went to the window and looked out at the manicured gardens, at the high walls surrounding the property, at the security cameras positioned every 20 feet. Chidi Okafor had built a fortress. Around noon, the door opened again. This time it was Chidi himself. He carried a folder under his arm and wore a different suit, navy blue, equally perfect. He sat down across from her without being invited. "How are you feeling?" "How do you think I'm feeling?" "Scared, angry, confused." He opened the folder. "All reasonable reactions. But I need you to understand something, Mrs. This isn't personal. You're holding me prisoner." "How is that not personal?" "Because you're not the target." He slid a photograph across the table. "She is." Amara looked at the photo. A young woman, maybe 25, with dark hair and bright eyes. She was smiling at the camera. "Who is she?" "Her name was Ngozi. She worked here 5 years ago." Chidi's voice was steady, but something flickered in his eyes. "She sat in that chair. She died 3 days later." The room went silent. Amara felt her breath catch. "What?" "The chair isn't about obsession, Mrs. It's about safety. About evidence." He leaned forward. "Ngozi didn't die because of the chair. She died because of what she found hidden inside it. And when you sat in it yesterday, you activated the same mechanism she did." Amara's hands started shaking. "What mechanism?" "A recording device, built into the frame. My father's work." Chidi's expression darkened. "He used it to spy on business partners, enemies, anyone he invited into this room. When he died, I tried to remove it, but it's wired into the structure. One wrong move and the entire system activates, broadcasting everything it's ever recorded." "That's impossible." "I wish it were." Chidi pulled out his phone and showed her a video. Security footage. Yesterday, Amara sitting in the chair. And then, in the corner of the screen, a small red light beginning to blink beneath the chair's cushion. "You sat in exactly the wrong position. Your weight triggered the sensor. Right now, there's a data package uploading somewhere. It contains recordings of conversations that could destroy lives." Amara stared at him. This was insane. But the fear in Chidi's eyes looked genuine. "Why not just destroy the chair?" "Because it's rigged. Any attempt to dismantle it triggers an immediate upload. My father was paranoid, but he was brilliant. He made sure his secrets would outlive him." The walls felt like they were closing in. Amara stood up, needing to move. "You're lying." "I wish I were." Chidi stood too. "But you'll see. Within 72 hours, someone will contact you. Someone who's been waiting for that data. And when they do, you'll understand exactly what kind of danger you're in." He walked to the door, then paused. "I'm not the villain here, Mrs. I'm trying to protect you." The door closed, locked, and Amara was alone with the terrifying possibility that everything he'd just said was true. Leave a comment below with your theory. And don't forget to subscribe because the next chapter reveals something nobody saw coming. Amara spent the next 24 hours in disbelief. She replayed Chidi's words, searching for cracks in his story. But the fear in his voice had seemed real. She thought about Ngozi, the girl in the photograph, dead at 25. What had she heard in those recordings? Mrs. Adeyemi brought meals but refused to speak. The guards outside her door changed shifts every 8 hours but never acknowledged her. Amara felt like a ghost. On the second morning, her door opened earlier than usual. Chidi stood there, his suit rumpled, his eyes bloodshot. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. "We need to talk. I'm not interested in more lies." "It's not a lie." He held up his phone. "Someone accessed the server 2 hours ago. They downloaded everything." Amara's heart stopped. "What?" "Sit down." It wasn't a request. Chidi moved into the room and closed the door behind him. "I've spent the last 2 hours trying to trace the download. I can't. Whoever this is, they're professional. And they're going to come for you." "Why me?" "I didn't hear anything." "Because you're the trigger. You're proof that the system works. Anyone who wants to use this information will need to verify it through you." Chidi ran a hand through his hair. "My father recorded conversations with people who matter. politicians, judges, corporate executives. If those recordings go public, or if they're used for blackmail, dozens of people will go down. Amara felt sick. So what do I do? You trust me. Chitty met her eyes. I know you have no reason to, but I've been trying to keep this contained for 5 years. I've kept staff isolated. I've paid people to stay quiet. I've done everything I can to prevent exactly this scenario. Then why not just tell people? Go to the police. Because half the police are on those recordings. Chitty's voice was bitter. My father didn't discriminate. He collected dirt on everyone. The room felt airless. Amara wanted to run. What happened to Ngozi? Car accident. 3 days after she sat in the chair. Brake line cut. Chitty's jaw clenched. I couldn't prove anything, but I learned. I created the rules. I tried to make sure it would never happen again. And the others? Mrs. Adeyemi said there were 3 people before me. 2 of them took settlements, signed NDAs, disappeared into new lives. Chitty looked away. The 3rd one refused. He thought he could go to the media. They found him in his apartment. Overdose. He didn't use drugs. Amara's legs gave out. She sat on the bed, her whole body shaking. So what do you want from me? I want you to survive. Chitty crouched in front of her. And to do that, we need to work together. When they come, we need to be ready. Why should I trust you? Because I'm the only one who knows what you're up against. Because I've been fighting this for 5 years. And because I don't want to see another person die because of my father's paranoia. He stood. Think about it. But think fast. He left, and Amara was alone with a choice she never wanted to make. Trust the man who'd imprisoned her, or face whatever was coming on her own. That night, she made her decision. When Chitty returned, she looked him in the eye and said, "Tell me everything. No more secrets." And for the first time since this nightmare began, she saw something like relief cross his face. All right, but you're not going to like what you hear. Are you still with me? Hit that like button and drop a comment because this story is about to take a turn that changes everything. Chitty sat across from Amara, and for the first time he looked human. Vulnerable. My father built this house 30 years ago, before he made his fortune. He was paranoid, obsessed with control. He installed recording devices in every room where he conducted business. Amara listened, her arms wrapped around herself. So the chair was his command center. The recordings were stored in a device built into its frame. He wired it into the house's foundation. Anyone who sat in the chair with the right weight distribution would activate it. Chitty's voice was hollow. He died before he could tell me where the data went. Why not just burn the house down? I hired experts, engineers. Everyone said the same thing. The device is tied to a dead man's switch. If it's destroyed, everything uploads automatically. My father made sure his secrets would outlive him. Amara felt a chill. And Ngozi? Ngozi was smart, curious. She sat in the chair while dusting it. The system activated. By the time I figured out what happened, people were already moving. Chitty's hands clenched. She came to me, told me she'd heard something. A conversation between my father and a man named Obiora Namdi. Amara shook her head. He owns half the construction contracts in Lagos. Legitimate on the surface. Organized crime underneath. The recording Ngozi heard was my father and Namdi discussing bribes. Judges who were bought. Projects that were rigged. Chitty's voice dropped. Ngozi thought she could take it to the authorities. I begged her not to. 3 days later, she was dead. The room felt colder. And you think Namdi killed her? I know he did, but I can't prove it. Namdi has connections everywhere. Chitty leaned forward. When you sat in that chair yesterday, the system activated again. Someone got an alert. They know another recording is accessible. They're going to come for it. And for you. But I didn't hear anything. Doesn't matter. You're the key. You're proof the system works. They'll want to know what you know. Chitty's expression was grim. We have maybe 48 hours. We need to use that time. Amara paced the small room. What if we give them what they want? We can't access them. The system uploads to an encrypted server. I don't have the password. Chitty sighed. My father took those secrets to his grave. Then what's the plan? Chitty was quiet. Then he said, we make them think you're valuable. We make them believe you heard something specific. And then we use that as leverage. That's insane. These people kill. They kill loose ends. But if you're valuable, if you're holding something they need, they'll negotiate. Chitty stood. It's risky, but it's the only play we have. Amara wanted to scream, but looking at Chitty's face, at the desperation there, she realized something. He wasn't her captor. He was just as trapped as she was. What did the recording say? The one Ngozi heard. Chitty's expression darkened. It was about a project. A building that collapsed 5 years before she died. 23 people died. The official story was faulty materials. He paused. The recording proved it was deliberate. Insurance fraud. But people were inside when it happened. The deaths were collateral damage. Amara felt bile rise. And your father knew? He was part of it. Chitty's voice broke. I've spent 5 years trying to bury that truth. The silence was heavy. Amara understood now. This wasn't about control. This was about guilt. About a son trying to atone for a father's sins. She took a breath. Okay, tell me what to do. Chitty looked at her with something like gratitude. First, we wait. When they make contact, you let me handle it. Second, we prepare. I have resources. We can disappear you if necessary. Disappear. New identity. New life. He moved toward the door. Get some rest. Tomorrow, everything changes. The call came at exactly 8 a.m. Amara was awake when Chitty burst into her room. Phone in hand. His face pale. They made contact. Her heart hammered. What did they say? Nothing. They sent this. He showed her the screen. A text message. No number. Just words. The girl heard something. We want it. 24 hours. Amara's mouth went dry. That's it. That's enough. Chitty pocketed the phone. They think you have information. That buys us time. Time for what? To negotiate. He paced the room. I'm going to reply. Tell them you're willing to talk. Public place. Witnesses. They'll never agree. They will if they think you're about to go public. Chitty stopped. But I need something from you first. Tell me exactly what you remember from sitting in that chair. Amara closed her eyes. The chair. The velvet. The relief. And then, there was a click. A soft sound. And then a voice. Muffled. Maybe 5 seconds before you found me. A voice. Male or female? Male, I think. Deep. But it was so brief. Chitty nodded slowly. That's something. That's enough to convince them you heard more. This is insane. But they don't know that. And as long as they think you're holding something back, they'll keep you alive. He moved to the door. Stay here. I'm sending the reply. And Amara. She looked up. Don't trust anyone except me. Namdi has people everywhere. 2 hours later, Chitty returned. He looked shaken. They responded. They want to meet. Tonight. A warehouse by the docks. That's a trap. Of course it is. But we don't have a choice. He sat down. They want me to bring you. Alone. No security. Then we don't go. If we don't go, they'll come here. They'll take you by force. At least this way, we control some variables. Chitty pulled out a small device. This is a tracker. GPS. If anything goes wrong, I'll be able to find you. And if they find the tracker, then we pray. He met her eyes. I won't lie. This is dangerous. But I've spent 5 years preparing. I have plans. You have to trust me. Amara held out her wrist. Chitty attached the tracker. It was small, disguised as a medical alert bracelet. What happens at the warehouse? We listen to their offer. If it's money and silence, we consider it. If it's threats, we have leverage. He pulled out another phone. This phone has copies of other recordings. Insurance. If they try anything, I threaten to release everything. That'll get us both killed. Maybe. Or maybe they'll realize we're more valuable alive. Chitty stood. Get ready. We leave at 6. Dark clothes. Comfortable shoes. When Chitty came to get her, he wore all black and carried a gun. Can you use one of these? Amara shook her head. Good. Don't try. If things go bad, you run. He tucked the gun into his waistband. Ready? No. Good answer. He opened the door. Let's go. They left through a side entrance. A black car waited. Chitty drove. Neither spoke. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of blood. The warehouse district was deserted. Chitty pulled up to a building with broken windows. This is it. Amara's hands trembled. We don't have to do this. Yes, we do. Chitty checked his gun, then looked at her. Stay close. Say nothing unless I tell you to. And Amara? Whatever they offer, remember they're killers. They got out. The air smelled like oil. Chitty led her to a side door. Inside, the warehouse was dark. A single light hung in the center, illuminating a circle of concrete. 3 figures stood in the shadows. Mr. Okafor. The voice was smooth. Thank you for coming. A man stepped into the light. He was older, maybe 60, with silver hair and an expensive suit. He smiled. And you must be Miss Ease, the girl who sat in the chair. Amara said nothing. Chitty squeezed her arm gently. My name is Obiora Namdi. I believe we have something to discuss. Make sure you're subscribed because the ending will leave you speechless. Comment below what you think happens next. Obiora Namdi moved with confidence. Behind him, 2 men stood in shadows. Silent. Watching. I'll get straight to the point, Mr. Okafor. The girl heard something she shouldn't have. I want to know what, and I want to know who she's told. She's told no one, Chitty said. His voice was steady. And what she heard was minimal. A few seconds of audio. Nothing more. Then it won't be a problem for her to repeat it. Namdi's smile widened. Go ahead, Mrs. Tell me what you heard. Amara's mouth went dry. She glanced at Chitty. He gave a tiny nod. She swallowed hard. I heard a voice. A man talking about a building. About numbers. Money. I didn't understand it all. It was only a few seconds. What building? I don't know. I didn't hear a name. Namdi's smile faded. You're lying. She's not, Chitty said. The system activates randomly. Plays fragments. She heard a fragment. That's all. Then she's useless to me. Namdi gestured to the men. They started forward. Chitty pulled out his gun. Stop. The men froze. Namdi raised an eyebrow. You're going to shoot me, Mr. Okafor? In front of witnesses. If I have to. Chitty's hand didn't shake. But I don't think you want that. Because I have something you need. And what's that? Insurance. Chitty pulled out the phone. My father recorded dozens of conversations. I have copies. Encrypted and ready to upload to every news outlet in the country. You kill us and everything goes public. Every dirty deal. Every bribe. Every murder. All of it. Namdi's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. You're bluffing. Am I? Chitty held up the phone. I can send it right now. One button. The warehouse went silent. Finally, Namdi laughed. It was a cold sound. You're smarter than your father. He never would have thought of this. My father was a coward. He collected secrets but never had the courage to use them. Chitty's voice was hard. I'm not him. No, you're not. Namdi clasped his hands behind his back. So what do you want? I want you to leave us alone. Both of us. Forever. And in exchange, those recordings stay buried. And if I refuse? Then everyone learns what you did to the Riverside building. 23 people died because you wanted insurance money. Everyone learns about the judges you bought, the politicians you own. Chitty's finger hovered over the phone. Your empire crumbles. Namdi stared at him for a long moment. Then he looked at Amara. You're very lucky, Mrs. Mr. Okafor seems to value your life. Do we have a deal? Chitty pressed. Namdi smiled again. That empty, predatory smile. We have a deal. For now. But Mr. Okafor, if you're lying, If those recordings don't exist, I will find you. And what happens next will be much worse. I understand. Good. Namdi gestured to his men. We're leaving, but I'll be watching. One mistake and the deal is void. The three men walked away. A door opened and closed. The warehouse fell silent. Amara collapsed onto the concrete floor, gasping. Chitty lowered the gun, his hands shaking. Is it over? Amara's voice was barely a whisper. For now. Chitty helped her up. But we need to move. We can't trust he'll keep his word. They rushed to the car. Chitty drove fast, checking mirrors constantly. Amara couldn't stop shaking. Where are we going? Somewhere safe. I have a property in Abuja. Off the grid. We'll stay there until I can arrange something more permanent for you. Chitty glanced at her. New identity. New life. It's the only way. What about you? I'll manage. But his voice was hollow. I'm sorry, Amara. I tried so hard to prevent this. Amara looked at him. He wasn't a villain. He was just a man drowning in his father's sins. You didn't take my freedom, she said quietly. You delayed the truth. Chitty's jaw clenched. What do you mean? Those recordings. That phone. You're not going to keep them buried forever, are you? He was silent. Then finally, no, I'm not. Good. Amara leaned back. Ngozi deserves justice. Those 23 people deserve justice. It's not that simple. If I release those recordings, more people die. Innocent people caught in my father's web. Chitty's voice cracked. How do I choose? You don't. Amara looked at him. You tell the truth. You release everything. And you let the system do what it's supposed to do. You sound very certain. I sat in that chair. I triggered something I didn't understand. And now I know that secrets like this don't protect people. They protect monsters. Amara's voice grew stronger. I'm not asking you to do it tonight, but eventually you have to let go. Chitty pulled the car over. They were on a highway outside Lagos, surrounded by darkness. He gripped the steering wheel. If I do that, Namdi will kill me. He'll kill you. Then we make sure we're not easy targets. We prepare. We get evidence to the right people first. Amara turned to face him. You've been fighting this alone for 5 years. Let me help. Let's finish this together. He looked at her like she was insane. You want to go after Namdi? I want to stop running. I want to stop hiding. Amara's hands were steady. Ngozi didn't get that choice. But we do. So what's it going to be, Mr. Okafor? The silence stretched. Then slowly Chitty smiled. It was a sad smile, but it was real. You're either very brave or very foolish. Maybe both. All right. He put the car back in gear. We do this. We gather evidence. We build a case. We find people we can trust. And when we're ready, we burn it all down. How long will that take? Months. Maybe a year. Chitty merged back onto the highway. Can you disappear for that long? Give up everything. Amara thought about her apartment, her sister, her friends. But then she thought about Ngozi, about the 23 people in that building. I can disappear, she said. But I'm not giving up my freedom. I'm choosing what to do with it. Chitty nodded. Then we have a deal. They drove through the night, leaving Lagos behind. Amara watched the lights fade, wondering if she'd ever see them again. She thought about the chair, about the decision to sit down for 30 seconds that had changed everything. Most people would say she'd been unlucky, but sitting there, driving toward an uncertain future, Amara realized something. Maybe she'd been exactly where she needed to be. The truth had been locked away too long, and she'd been the key that finally set it free. 3 months later, Amara sat in a small apartment in Abuja. Her hair was different now, shorter, darker. She had new identification, a new job. But she wasn't alone. Chitty called every week with updates. They'd found a journalist, someone with a reputation for taking down powerful people. They'd started feeding her information, building a story that couldn't be ignored. We're close, Chitty said during their last call. Another month, maybe 2. And then we release everything. What about Namdi? He's suspicious. He's been watching. But he doesn't know what we're doing. Not yet. Chitty paused. When this goes public, he'll come for us. You know that. I know. Amara looked out the window. But we'll be ready. Will we? We have to be. She smiled. Because the alternative is living in fear forever. And I'm done with that. You've changed, Chitty said softly. That woman was tired, desperate, scared. Amara's voice was steady. I'm still all those things. But now I'm angry too. And anger is useful. Be careful with that anger. I know. But right now I need it. She heard movement on his end. Are you okay? I'm fine. Just tired. Chitty sighed. Sometimes I wonder if this is worth it. We won't know unless we try. Amara's grip tightened on the phone. And we owe it to Ngozi. To all of them. You're right. You're always right. Chitty laughed. But it sounded sad. I'll call you next week. Stay safe. You too. The line went dead. Amara set down the phone and stared at her reflection in the window. She barely recognized herself. But maybe that was the point. She wasn't the same person who'd sat in that chair. She'd been taken apart and rebuilt. Forged in secrets and fear. But she was still here. Still fighting. And when the truth finally came out, when Namdi's empire crumbled and justice finally arrived, she'd be standing in the light. Not as a victim. The obsessive billionaire had taken her freedom in seconds. But in doing so, he'd given her something more valuable. Purpose. Direction. The knowledge that sometimes the only way out is through. And sometimes the truth is worth any price. We've come to the end of the story. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more interesting stories.